Hey everybody, it's Laser Lloyd overlooking Bethlehem in the Holy Land, and haven't had a chance to speak to you all on Sundays for a long time for different reasons. Um, I got the house to myself a few hours today, and all the kids and grandkids are covered, and my parents taken care of, and I just want to let you all know that something I've seen recently, that, and from correspondence with a lot of people and a lot of people reaching out to me, that I think a lot of people need to hear be said. You know, first of all, you know, we've been writing, everyone knows about the Charlie Kirk thing, and so many people, including myself, have delved more and more into so many of his videos and what he was saying and what he wanted to say. And whether you agree with him on everything or not, obviously I don't agree with him on everything he's believed or said, as I know with a lot of people of whatever religion they are. Just for me, I always told everybody that when it comes to religion, you got to take the fruit and throw out the peels, and you got to know how to get to the diamonds without getting caught in all the politics and all the other things that are not necessary. But it's amazing, the ability to hold dialogue was just for sure something that I told everybody when I wrote my song America in 2015, and I saw my friends becoming fanatics, either left or right, and losing the ability to be able to have a normal conversation with people and to see the gray in issues without really putting themselves on a team. I'm on this team, you're on that team, I'm against you, you're against me, and really starting to get really way too aggressive to have it be productive. Even though there's a lot of issues that are really important to people, and I understand that, but I was always telling people that the most important thing is that we keep our humanity and our ability to love each other. And for years I was telling people the Thanksgiving story. When we would have Thanksgiving, I knew some of my crazy uncles or cousins would come over, and some of them whatever would do some wacky stuff. And I would tell Mom, we got to have Uncle so-and-so. He has to come for Thanksgiving. He does this and this, and you know. And she would always say, she would look at me and say, Lloyd, when it comes to family, you got to turn the other eye. You know, you don't have to deal with them all the time, just, you know, but it's family, got to keep the family together. And, you know, I always used to tell people that that's how it is with humanity. If we're really mature enough and have the love deep enough, like my mother, she always did, and knew that the bigger picture of keeping everybody together, and that how bad your so-called cousin or uncle or neighbor or person you don't disagree with might be, that it's better to keep them around in the fold, and being able to still feel that those are people who need love. A lot of those times, those people who don't know how to hold dialogue and are crazy. So I always have tried to correspond with people that have written me wacky stuff since I wrote that America song, where I just tried to give the perspective that I still love America, but I love America while being able to speak about some of the complicated history of it. And for years, you know, it's very heavy on a person having to do that, because I've had really horrible things written to me privately, and of course online you all see the crazy comments from people on the right and the left. And nobody should think that anyone is holding the only position that only their camp needs to get fixed. Trust me, it's you know, it's a lot of stuff on the left and the right that have caused a lot of this divisive, unhealthy way that we're all speaking to each other. But I've always been very vocal, and I lost a lot of fans by doing it, by telling people the truth. And my truth is that although I have found, no doubt, that there have been my friends who have been radicalized on the right to be not bending and not able to hold dialogue. I do not expect that from them. Yet my friends who have called themselves liberal, or, as I grew up and still consider myself open-minded, liberal, whatever you want to say, progressive, hippie, whatever word you want to put to it, people grew up like that. We're expected to know how to not get radicalized and be fanatical, and to really keep our ability to listen to a lot of different issues and see it from different perspectives. And those are the people I really got disappointed in, and have continually to see the deterioration on college campuses in a serious way of the youth being radicalized by different things from within the country of America. And also, I'm realizing that if you look at how many billions of dollars places like Qatar and China and other places are investing in American universities, and American universities are taking it. It says in the Bible, be careful taking a bribe, because the bribe will blind the eyes even of the righteous. And I really feel that the universities, many of them, have been bribed by outside influences from societies that have no freedom of speech. If the communism in China and Islamic nations, there is no free dialogue there. They might have good things, yes. That wacky dude, Jeffrey, what's his name, that always speaks bad about America. He's supposed to be an expert. I always watch his video. He always praises China all the time. I said, go move to China and see if they're going to let you, like America, speak, criticize China all day and still live in China. You'll be dead, my man. So I've really seen that this has been happening. I've seen it firsthand. I saw it when I used to go play on college campuses. I smelt it happening. I smelt it when it started coming. I played some really places that were liberal hubs when it came to, I was starting to feel really weird stuff at a lot of these festivals that were run by very progressive groups. Really, really wacky stuff where it was dangerous. The hubs of the beginnings of Antifa and all these things. I was there, and I smelt it out. It wasn't healthy. And I always try to tell my friends on the right, when it comes to the issues, to try to keep your mind open and just think about things a little bit, about the gray areas, that sometimes you don't have to take the whole bundle. I always tell my friends, okay, you might like this certain politician, okay, but don't start making people messiahs or satans. These are things you've heard me say for a long time. Rarely is someone 100% evil or 100% perfect. And I want to say that, I don't know if there'll be any one person, but maybe there'll be one person who's made it this far in the video, that, you can really be a holy person, consider yourself a believer, and totally surrender whatever religion you might be, without having to call yourself a name of a certain religion, or giving God a certain name, or holding on to certain beliefs that are not necessary to really live a holy, deep, spiritual, or whatever you want to call it, religious life of just becoming love and really giving yourself over to family, community, whatever you want to say, nation, the world. Listen to a interview with, just as an example, Bill Maher and Charlie Kirk. There's a lot of good things to learn from a lot of people, and there's also things you have to realize that they don't always connect the dots. And there was this conversation with him asking Bill Maher if he's a believer, and he goes, well, we have the issue. I have a lot of my Christian friends that, they they like stuff about community and doing good deeds and being a good person, but the whole thing about having to always believe that Mary was a virgin. I mean, we're not faced with that stuff in our times. And you could say about all the different religions, there's a lot of stuff, whether it was the splitting of the Red Sea or Muhammad flying from Mecca to Jerusalem and all the other wacky things there that those people end up believing. And you can say it about every religion, whether it's Hinduism or Judaism or Christianity or Islam or Zoroastric, whatever you want to say. Even in Buddhism, there's a lot of people who make the mistake of getting blinded by things that got weaved in that were not things that originally the Buddha was saying, that complicate themselves, and you don't really have to do that. But there's a lot of peer pressure sometimes growing up in different areas that cause people to feel, I have to buy the whole bundle, I have to say everything that they're saying I have to say. And so I don't think Charlie really made the proper connection. He said, are you a believer? And he said, well, the fact that Mary was a virgin, or that after 2,000 years, Jesus is going to come back again, that's not something we see, people rising from the dead. I'm not saying that these things could, with all the things about faith, don't get into arguments. If someone really believes in that and wants to believe in that, and that helps them to be a good person, then okay, that's fine. But if it's something, a lot of times I'm feeling that it's keeping people away from wanting to go the spiritual life, go into being a real, truly religious person, which is about self-knowledge, which is about realizing that what Jesus and the Buddha and all the other religions are really pointing out is that it is, not only is it all one, but whatever that is, it's not a name, it's not a person, it's all godly. I'm not saying that what the supreme reality is so far beyond our intellectual comprehension, it doesn't make sense to give it a name and try to give it all these concepts. But what you can do is you can yourself experience and go into knowing yourself and you becoming divine. You have to do this by, I've said this for years, and this is from my own personal experience of being deeply involved in Jewish and Christian mysticism and religion for many, many years, decades, and finally coming to the conclusion that my divine experiences of really feeling my own divinity, of understanding that whatever that is, I am that, and feeling that within myself, has to be when you find a way to silence the mind and just the beingness. I remember I would spend hours. First, I would pray the same prayers every morning, but then there's this thing called Idbonanut, which is, it's not really meditation. It's just a state of being of when you stop the mind and the ego from thinking. What happens is you experience what is manifesting through you as the seer, not as what is seen, not as what your mind has from your conditioning or from the way you're raised or from society, has you always looking outside, looking to the next thing or looking in the past, but actually what is there in that clear, pure moment. If you're not disturbed, that is your true essence. That's when you can really, without having to open a book or to believe in any, wacky beliefs, you yourself can understand that, wow, this is divine. And then you can also, just from years of living, you start to realize, you know what, there is nothing by chance here. I don't need it written in the book. I don't have to prove it to anyone. I don't have to metaphysically try to get science and religion and theology on the same page. It's just clear that there's nothing here by chance. But I can't. You have to feel that in your heart to happen. And a lot of times, people who are, it's most hard for them to happen is people who are always very successful or making a lot of money and being involved with the next trip, the next meal, the next buying of this and that. There's a lot of distractions. And sometimes the biggest blessing is when we have when things aren't going our way. I'm a big football fan for years. One of my favorite players, I didn't know why, was this Baker Mayfield guy. I just saw an interview. I didn't really know, but he was explaining he was this big, successful quarterback, Heisman Trophy, I think he was, maybe, coming out of college, high draft pick. And all of a sudden, his career after a few years stumbles, and he's stuck, and he's down and out, also with his marriage. And then he came back, and he said the word did help him, and he had to go searching and do soul searching of getting rid of this character of I'm the quarterback, I'm whatever I am, into, well, what is really going on here in life? And then that really helped him flourish and really keep the proper perspective. So I think really there's elements of humility and becoming love and just understanding that, you know what, I just totally understand that I'm surrendering to that. I know that accepting everything that is happening to me is exactly how it's supposed to happen, has happened. No one can do anything wrong to me without it being decreed, divinely decreed, and all I need to focus on is doing good and being good and investigating that and looking deeply into myself. And Baker Mayfield said there, it's not something you just say, I'm saved, I accept the word, and then that's it. He says it's a daily battle. And if you really want to surrender to the truth and taste that divine essence, you can taste the divine essence and be completely without fear, without desires, without having to buy any sort of that every word in every book was given to by God, by somebody. Why do you want to base your life on something that happened thousands of years ago without being able to see that person? At least investigate within yourself first. And that's why I've always been inspired by, as a musician, we've come across hundreds of people who have gone through drug addiction and alcoholism, that through AAA or NAA, Narcotics Anonymous, that have really restructured themselves and done great things just by accepting higher power without a definition. That was a genius move by Alcoholics Anonymous. They wanted to try to make it more. One of the guys wanted to make it more specific with the exact name of God, a specific religion, and specific beliefs. And one other person was smart enough to say, hey, you know what? Let's just help people with the stuff that really they need to help themselves. So let's just give them to connect to their higher power and teach them how to do it without having to do those other things. So my recommendation to everybody in these days, on the heels of the awful thing of Charlie Kirk that I saw coming in 2015 when I wrote the song America, is if you're really heated about different things, first put the heat on yourself. First, most people who really do their own self-introspection, and that's where you have the whole concept of the kingdom of heaven is really found in the heart. And I and the Father are one. It wasn't about saying one person and the Father is one. It's about saying we all are that. Whatever the Father is, whatever the Mother is, whatever the concept is of what has given this, it is you. That is you. You don't look at it as though, say, that is me, mean I'm that, and you're not. Everything you see is that. It cannot be separated. It's not like there's some thing over there in the beyond all the universes and this is separate. No, it's all this undescribable thing which you have to connect by doing your own daily reckoning with your own mind, knowing yourself, and this is not easy. Just try a few minutes of silence, asking yourself, who's having these thoughts? Is that my ego? Watch your ego. Know yourself. Don't be fanatic with yourself, but it can be that you can find a healthy teacher. It can be that you can be inspired by some of these names that might inspire you, whether it's a Buddha or a Jesus or some holy rabbi or a Moses or some guru that really can direct you. But at the end, all the holy people are pointing, will always say, you can find the books, are telling it, you are that, and only you can walk that final walk. All the books are pointing you in the right direction, but you have to walk it, and only you can know the real details of how to do it. So we don't need to get caught up in all these arguments of all these books of, is that, we know now from everything that goes on in politics and things that go on in religion and all the different branches that come from religions and all the different translations that come from all the books, there is no way that we have the exact telephone call, even if you want to accept it, that someone spoke to God on whatever mountain or in whatever vision or wherever they were, that those things are exactly as they were, and we know exactly how to translate and what they meant. Because even if you have the words, you can't feel, when people gave over their prophecy, you can't feel the nuances of when someone says something. And just listen, if you would listen to Charlie Kirk's words without actually watching a video of him smiling and having patience and really actually listening to what other people who disagree with him say, it's a whole different person, whole different ideas. So, yes, today to be holy. Yes, today to totally surrender, to want to give myself over to the truth, to beyond fear, beyond desire. Know that my true happiness, that is my inner self, that's who I am, and I do not have to buckle to the pressure of trying to be, I'm in this camp, which is against that camp, which doesn't like this camp. Forget all that. That is not the truth. So there's the Lord here, overlooking Bethlehem, blessing everyone with true love.